It is easy to assume that jobs are the same no matter where they are performed. But like cooking varies country to country, occupations also have a culture. We can challenge this assumption by comparing the occupational culture in Mexico versus the occupational culture in America. In Mexico, the occupations have different protocols, asset availabilities, and beliefs. Upon traveling to Mexico and with personal interviews from immigrants, I began more research to understand most of these differences. The Mexican occupational culture has different components than other countries. The two specific occupations focused on in the research were construction and informal work or self-employment. The first specific occupation focused on was construction. In the U.S., construction has a strict time frame and the workload is intense. To maintain this time frame and get the work done but also keep the employees safe, the government has mandated an agency called Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA. OSHA requires a certain number of hours for training, strict guidelines, and tight regulation with machinery, chemicals, and tools. This leaves the employees at low risk for an accident. However, in Mexico, they do not have a government agency that mandates these regulations, so the workers are more vulnerable. In a June 15th personal interview with an immigrant and former construction worker in Mexico, Miguel Perez, he explained that the employers did not provide personal protective equipment, and he explained the scene as scaffolding being long wooden boards stacked on concrete blocks, ladders were left on unlevel ground, and nobody was on the bottom to stabilize them. They worked such strict time frames that they didn't have time to travel home at night, so they all had individual hammocks that they would hang and sleep in at nighttime. And he described the scene also as feeling unsafe because they were surrounded by gangs. Unfortunately, they did not make enough money for him to support his family, so he came to America and pursued a construction opportunity here and now sends the money back to his family. Romel Solis Carcano and Ricardo Franco, in a case study, went to a construction site where they observed and surveyed many of the construction workers, and they explained the scene as a high likelihood of having accidents. They observed alcohol consumption as being irregular throughout the workday. Most of the construction workers wore sandals and did not wear safety boots. And then when looking up at past records for the accidents that had occurred, most of them occurred because the tools were in bad conditions. Solis Carcano and Franco quote, "The construction industry is undoubtedly one of the most hazardous work environments." Now, in Mexico, construction is worked mainly by men, but women hold more of the role of the homemaker. Tamara Wilson defines this by saying that Mexico follows a neo-patriarchy, which is when the man is the dominant of the house and supports the family financially, and the woman holds more of a control over the family. This is very limiting to the opportunities for women to work there. So what happens when a male can't support his family due to illness or death or even just low wages? The women are very limited, and so a lot of them resort to making crafts and handmade items and selling them on the street. This is called an informal sector, or like an untaxable or self-employment type of work. This reminds me of a story when I was in Mexico, and there was a woman and her 2 children who came out at night after all the shops closed, and they walked on the streets in a tourist-heavy area selling these handmade items that they made. A lot of people in Mexico that make handmade items will find resources that are very inexpensive so that they can earn a profit. So for example, they sold these stuffed animals, and they would use the felt and the yarn to sew the outer part, and on the inside are plastic bags that they used for the stuffing. She also had a 4-year-old son who would find these blades of grass, and he would dry them and make crosses and sell them. They did this because her husband had recently passed away, and she was trying to support her daughter to go to the school in the area. The opportunities like this are different in America, though. First off, women have more opportunities here, and even men and women who want to do handmade things and sell them to the public, a lot of them do it to support their family, but also as a hobby. And there are more resources to selling them here. Like, we don't walk on the streets and sell them as much as we do like on the internet access. With websites such as Etsy, Amazon Handmade, and Facebook Business, it's easier to sell the items. Plus, we have postal service access, which can send items anywhere in the world. Despite these jobs being the same, there are vast differences. Numerous occupational processes are different in Mexican culture than in the American culture. Specifically, construction and formal work greatly vary between the two countries. Knowledge about the difference is beneficial to understand the way of life for people that live in countries so close together, yet vastly different occupational standards withhold. Miguel Perez concluded his research well when he stated, "It is easy to judge each other due to our differences in life courses when we haven't walked in one another's shoes."